Montreal field to likely cancel breakouts, destinations amid summertime staffing deficit. Canadians flying out of the Montreal field might be in for a bit of a shock this summer, as the head of the Trudeau field says airlines will likely be asked to cancel some breakouts or indeed destinations altogether. "We are getting veritably near to that. We are having conversations, and it's likely the frequentness, the number of breakouts we'll have on a given destination, or destinations themselves," said Philippe Rainville, president and CEO of the Montreal Trudeau Airport, on Wednesday. Rainville said this kind of reduction in service has not happened in recent memory. The reason a staffing deficit at the field is causing all kinds of trip issues, since there are not enough workers to load and discharge airplanes. It's veritably sensitive, obviously. We've people that have reserved recesses, so the airlines will have to be extremely careful in how they manage that, he said in an interview. At least one Canadian airline is formally heeding the call from the head of the Montreal airport. Air Canada said in a statement that it'll start slashing flight schedules throughout July and August. Indeed, though, the airline said it tried to anticipate the swell in air business by careful planning and the largest and fastest scale of hiring in our history. In a statement from Air Canada CEO Michael Rousseau on Wednesday, he said the public flag carrier is floundering to keep up with the unknown and unlooked-for strains on all aspects of the global aeronautics system. "This wasn't an easy decision, as it'll affect in fresh flight cancellations that will have a negative impact on some guests," the statement read. "But doing this in advance allows affected guests to take time to make other arrangements in an orderly manner, rather than have their trip disintegrated shortly before or during their trip, with many druthers available. It'll also enable us to more reliably serve all guests. For those hoping to enjoy traveling again after 2 times of an epidemic, it could not have come at a worse time. Airfields across the country, including Montreal, are facing long lineups, lost luggage, and little tolerance from trippers." Recent data shows that 51% of all breakouts in and out of Canada's major airfields were cancelled or delayed between June 22 and 27. The data from DataWazo, a data strategy agency grounded in Fredericton, N.B., stated the worst-hit field was Toronto, with 11% of breakouts during that same time period being cancelled and 52% of breakouts being delayed. "I have no idea what happened to the bags." CTV saw firsthand the frustration some are dealing with in Montreal, the country's 4th busiest field. "I spent nearly 2 hours in the baggage line up downward so we could go to a hostel, only to find out the bags had not indeed been put on the airplane," said one rubberneck on Wednesday. "I've no idea what happened to the bags," said another amid the chaos in the field. Rainville said some breakouts filled with passengers are coming in with no luggage, only for wallets and baggage to arrive the coming day. Also, it all has to be dispatched. While the delays are long at the field, trippers say information from staff is also in short force. "Nothing was saying anything, nothing said, 'Hey, come stand in this line. We are going to get you through.' It was like nothing worked then," said one passenger. The civil government said it has hired further border agents to try to ease the tailback in Canadian airfields the most affected by dearths. "We are seeing the swell in demand for trips, outpacing the capability of airlines and airfields to enhance the coffers they need to accommodate that swell," said Civil Transport Minister Omar Al-Gabra. Air passenger rights advocate Gabor Lukacs says airlines should have better anticipated the swell after COVID-19 trip restrictions were lifted. "They've vended way more tickets to way more passengers than the system was suitable to support and handle at this point, and this was predictable," he said. The deficit of workers appears to be across the board. Documents presented to Parliament and reviewed by CTV National News show that the number of workers working at airfields for the Canada Border Services Agency (CBSA) and the Canadian Air Transport Security Authority (CATSA) has not yet caught up with pre-pandemic situations. Long lineups at passport services in Montreal in recent weeks have only caused further headaches heading into the summer trip season. Aer Lingus cancels 12 breakouts due to the shaft and staff COVID cases. Aer Lingus has cancelled 12 breakouts moments due to a shaft in COVID-19 cases among staff. The airline said it's now working to secure indispensable trip options for passengers affected and apologized for the vexation. Breakouts from Dublin to Edinburgh, Frankfurt, Lyon, Geneva, Munich and Amsterdam were cancelled, as were corresponding return breakouts. This evening, the airline said 4 further breakouts hereafter will be cancelled. The breakouts are Dublin to Berlin and back again, A336 and A337, as well as Dublin to Hamburg A392 and the return A393. In a statement, Aer Lingus said that should crew illness bear the cancellation of fresh breakouts in the coming days, it'll seek to accommodate passengers on the coming available services as efficiently as possible. It said it had anticipated the return of demand for trips as COVID restrictions were removed, but said system pressures and ongoing issues at some airfields have created considerable challenges which have been compounded by a significant shift in COVID cases among the airline's staff. Clarity sought over Defence Force security part. The president of Defence Forces Representative Association (PFORA) has said an explanation is demanded on when members of the Defence Forces will be demanded to help with security at Dublin Airport, as well as what places they will be filling. Speaking on RTE's Morning Ireland, Mark Keane questioned if Defence Forces members would be needed to take over regular duties, and said there are issues around health and safety, as well as the Working Time Act. History. The government agreed to a request from Minister for Transport Eamon Ryan that the Army is put on the buttress to help with security at Dublin Airport this summer. It comes after major problems at the field last month when passengers were left queuing outside outstations, and over 400 missed their breakouts. Also, Data has put in place new measures and hired and trained redundant staff, but the volume of trippers, departing a day means there are still detainments at check heft and security. The Commission on Defence, when it made its findings over 6 months ago, stressed this, saying that there was a custom and practice of using the Defence Forces as a form of cheap labour, their words not mine, and this formally again demonstrates that. 6 months on, we still have not seen the investment that we poorly need in the Defence Forces, not alone on the labour force side, but also in the outfit. So this is just another illustration of the government launching these great programs, with great fanfare, and also that it goes on the reverse burner. Meanwhile, Aer Lingus has said that due to a shift in COVID cases, it had to cancel 6 return breakouts from Dublin moment. The airline said its brigades are working to secure indispensable trip options for affected passengers. It said that just over one of Aer Lingus breakouts have been impacted by cancellations this month, and should crew illness bear the cancellation of fresh breakouts in the coming days, we will seek to accommodate passengers on the coming available services as efficiently as possible. Ryanair welcomes Army to move at Dublin Airport. Ryanair has eaten the government's decision to use the Defence Forces to help with passenger security processing at Dublin Airport until the end of the summer. This measure will support the hard-working data security staff, especially during peak weekend trips, and reduce the chances of long ranges that passengers have endured, particularly at the launch of the summer season, the airline said. Ryanair CEO Eddie Wilson said the decision is a monstrously positive step forward for Irish passengers who have had to deal with queries and long detainments, especially at the launch of the summer season. The Defence Forces will free up 100 of the DAA's security staff who have done a great job but need the support of the Army, particularly at weekends, so that passengers and families can get through the field snappily and enjoy a well-justified break, Mr. Wilson said. It's sensible to have the Army on buttress as a contingency. Speaking on RTE's Moment with Claire Byrne, Mr. Wilson said that it isn't unusual to see the Army at airfields in countries including Spain, Belgium and France, and that security work isn't skivvy work. He said that people are crack up with anxiety about going to the field, indeed, though there are presently no problems there, and this plan means there's redundant capacity in case of exigency. On the same program, Sinn Féin spokesperson on Enterprise Louise O'Reilly said it's veritably discourteous that members of the Defence Forces set up via media that they might be stationed on the field. Deputy O'Reilly called for concession with the workers in the Dublin field, adding that redundant staff is to be eaten, but it needs to be absolutely clear where they will be stationed to. Members of the Defence Forces need to be adequately compensated for fresh work carried out, she added. Retired Air Corps Lieutenant Colonel and Airport Safety and Security Adjudicator, Kevin Byrne, said the Defence Forces have a long history of abetting civil power, but stressed a slightly different situation of aiding a marketable reality. He said members should be given a redundant allowance for the work carried out and for being on the buttress,